afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Namaste from India. As you might be able to see behind me, the cars lined up. India is back on its feet and India is working, which is a great news. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about the Indian market, especially post-pandemic. And there have been substantial changes. And in the next 10 minutes or so that I have, I'll just try and walk you through a presentation. Please bear with me. I'll just share my screen and then walk you through the presentation. Tremendous changes has happened in the market. And just to give you a background, my name is Sumit Saran and I work for a company called SS Associates. Just to give you a very, I deliberately put this slide though, it has information that I'm sure most of you know, but just to give you a good, quick background, of course, population 1.334 billion population now, second to China. So India is the second most populous country in the world. But the consuming class, it's very important because the consuming class, depending on your product, can vary from 25 million to 300 million, depending on what you are selling and who you're selling to. Extremely fast GDP growth, and post-pandemic we are seeing extremely fast recovery. It's a democracy and also very importantly a signatory to the WTO, which means we have certain global trade obligations that India needs to adhere to, and that's why it's a market which is accepting a lot of products from a lot of countries. This is a report that has just come out from the World Economic Forum and Bain Consulting. It says that India is going to be the top 3 consumer markets in the world with, after US and China. And the predictions are that by 2030, which is only 7-8 years away now, is that the consumption is going from $1.5 trillion to 4 times. And so you can imagine the growth of this curve. And I'll encourage you, maybe today is a start for you to think, start thinking of this, being part of this, promised growth. And we are seeing this in front of our eyes, and I have a slide at the end where the data for imports show up, and you will see that these are not mere numbers. These are now reflecting in products being shipped and consumed. And like I said, the new millennials and the Gen Z is extremely willing to spend on what they consider healthy. And so look at these numbers. I mean, 55 million to 95 million people moving from a middle to an upper middle. That's like a Germany getting added to the consumption basket. And most of the spend is on food and grocery and consumers that are spread across the country. So the new Indian consumers, extremely optimistic, extremely tech savvy. India has gone completely digital on payments. So this consumer is also cashless and spread across the country. Completely ready market for you to work if you are willing to invest both time, energy, and resources. On the horticulture scenario, yes, of course, India is the second largest producer in the world. Of course, products are very good, and horticulture is a focus area for the government. And we are also seeing tremendous excitement in this space, be it venture capital funds or equity funds, etc. Big businesses are all investing in this area, both on the back end side and on the front end side. But on the other side, you have to also realize that production is more or less stagnant. Production in India, even after being such a large producer of fruits, is not keeping pace with the demand. 70% of our production is limited to the 3 big tropical products of banana, mango, and citrus. So products like apples, the temperate fruits, are only 2-3%, 3-4%. So clearly imports will have to make a lot of headway in this country. Seasonality barriers we are seeing day in and out getting broken, and new age products, new consumption coming up on an everyday basis. It's about who is willing to come and work on creating that consumer demand. And like I said, imported is becoming from mainstream, from niche. And look at the numbers. I mean, these are not like what I said is reflective here in the number, and these are numbers where India has doubled its fruit imports between 20 and 21. in such a difficult times for trade in general, from 360,000 metric tons to 720,000 metric tons. And look at, I mean, across the category, but look at apples. Apple has grown almost 100%. Oranges from 66,000 metric tons to 137,000 metric tons. Kiwi fruit from 44 to 56. Cherries from 270 to 670. And mind you, the figures on 21-22 are still April till Jan. India follows April-March cycle. So 3 months of data is going to get added. I expect the data to come out in the next 4 weeks or so. And so 3 more months of data will be added. So you can just see sky is the limit.
So it has been very difficult for fruit importers in China for the past 2 years. Before the pandemic, everybody is expecting growth, but now we are talking about how to survive. We are facing external problems like a high freight and a labor shortage in the origin. We are also facing internal problems like port congestion and clearance slowdown. The feeling is that when you are playing a video game, the setting has been changed from easy to difficult. Despite of all the problems, the total import of fresh fruits still gained an increase in 2021. Although not big, the growth is contributed by tropical fruits from nearby countries. So in the other way around, more the tropical fruits has increased, more the non-tropical had declined. Many importers who don't deal with tropical fruits face the problem of short supply. They have to look for domestic fruits. People who used to only deal with imported fruits are bringing new ideas and the cash flow to the domestic fruit industry. The domestic fruit industry is experiencing fast development amid the pandemic. In retail, no further innovation yet, and the fight for market share has come to a ceasefire. No more money being burned by the venture capitals. Fruit importers who used to benefit from the retailers' fight are now fighting among themselves to gain access to the retail channels. The competition goes back where it should be. Most of the importers will survive, but only those good ones will be developed. The pandemic is a harsh lesson. It requires many new efforts. Exporters should well select business partners in China. Quality is more important than quantity. This phrase is equally right for fruit and for company as well. Talk about the Southern Hemisphere season, I'm still optimistic. For example, the past Chilean cherry season was in general okay, although with many issues and worries. I think the worry is not about the market, but about the supply chain. The Chinese economy is least affected by the COVID-19. You may read from news that the Chinese government has been very strict in prevention measures. Those measures will affect greatly for a period in some cities, but it makes sure the whole country, in most of the time, remain in normal order. And I believe this will be the last round in China to the COVID-19 if it didn't go change into more dangerous variants. And by the time the Chinese government accepts it should be opened up, and then that will be the real opportunity for everyone.
First, we are still very positive with China market. It's still developing. Even with the COVID-19 epidemic situations, and if you look at the total import, it's still actually increased. Actually, some of them increased heavily. So we're still really positive with the market. Though we had some turbulences with market shut down or city shut down, but in general it's still increasing. So we are still looking forward to it. And the import food so far is still actually, although it's changing a lot, but still pretty much concentrated in first cities or rich cities. So it's by far import food is not covering the majority of the population. So, and China 1.4 billion populations, and means a lot. So we have still a long way to go. Probably in the next 20 years, we've been discussing and joking, and we don't really see much limit for coming not only 5 years, we're looking more like 20 years. Even innovations is the number one, is driving its development of the food, because in the past, China is very much dominated by wholesale market. Even until now, I think probably still 70% by the wholesale market, but it goes much quicker, decreasing than we thought because of new technologies. The new technologies with a smartphone, and everybody now is very easy to get access to have a look or make a small trial with all those items from different parts of the world. And after they try out, they look, they may buy again. So in the past, this doesn't happen because you have to come to a wholesale market, next to a second wholesale market, third wholesale market, then going to a companies doing the distributions, or then going to the retailers, and then going to the customers. So the food and the consumer distance between two of them has been very far away by history. But now the technology is really bringing it much, much closer. So I think now as I understand, probably over 1 billion population of China has a smartphone, so that we potentially have 1 billion people have also access to click the different website and have some ideas what is being selling on the website. That is really one from the technology wise. Now, healthy life, food safety, and all those concepts become more and more popular year by year. And to make that happen, food is by no doubt is becoming more and more important in their normal life. So far, if you look at the Chinese consumption map, still you would say the vegetables or maybe the meats in general are still taking the first priority. When something happens, you buy them first. But you can also see that fresh food is becoming more and more percentage year by year, and it increased a lot. And also it increased, we had a lot of numbers of research and investigations to show that the rich cities still not reach its regular level, as if we compare to a Western city. If you look at second city and the third city, is still far away. So that gap still probably have to be filled by many years.